The front of this store is come from Milford, Kansas. When Milford Dam went in, this is north of Junction City. Milford Dam went in, they took over the town, and so Dad bought the store there, and then we moved the rafters and the front down here and assembled here. And Dad, over the years, he had done business in the store. There was a general store and a machines, sold machinery there, and he had bought stuff and knew the people there. It was a community that he kind of grew up in near there. And so we moved all this down here and reassembled it and made it two-story. It had only one story before, and then it had a basement, and it's got an elevator in there, an old elevator. He brought it down here and installed it in here to go to the second floor. See, there's a counterweight over there in that box that helps raise it. You let it down, and you've got a brake. You can stop it, and then when you pull it, the printer comes up by itself with that counterweight on it.
And then when the cable breaks, these brakes are supposed to kick in to stop it. I wouldn't count on it though.
The reason this is charred, they had a kerosene barrel in the basement, and they had a pump that would pump it up on the main floor. Somewhere or another that kerosene caught fire one time, and that's the reason some of this is charred, because of the fire. But it didn't burn anything too bad. They got it put out. But anyway, he put it in here, and that's how some of the stuff got brought up upstairs here, a lot of it. And moved it down here to Ottawa, Kansas in 1965 and 66. And the government took over our farm for Fort Riley expansion in 65 and 60. He moved here in March of 66, or August of 66, I guess. And so we moved a lot of the, he'd started collecting things back in the middle 50s, I guess it was, and then we moved quite a bit of antique stuff down here, and then he went to auctions, and different people knew he liked this sort of thing and that, so they bring it by, and he'd most generally buy some of the stuff from.
There was a lot of farm sales because you had the Milford Reservoir, you just had Tuttle Creek Reservoir, and also the Fort Riley expansion. So there were farm sales all over all the time, and so we went to a lot of sales. That was my job when I was young, was to stand by the wagon and carry all the things he bought to the truck. So he went to quite a few sales then, and that's what he probably accumulated, I think, most of the smaller items anyhow.
And then some of the things in the store here we bought from the lady that had the store too, like the showcases and some of the counters, and some of the stuff in here came from her store that she didn't sell, so he ended up buying it from her. And she was her husband, and they farmed, and then she ran the store there in the town of Milford, and she was a real neat lady. Isn't that spinning wheel grandma?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sylvester family spinning wheel.
That's the family spinning wheel. And my grandma used to sit there and spin yarn. They're pretty too. Huh?
Tungsten, always on the job.
I would say the late 1800s, probably. Something like that. It was kind of for a well.
Let's do tip your cigar.
You know, to cut
the tip off.
That's green and red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's probably some kind of a signal light. I have no idea where that came from. We got some of these celluloid collars that are a lot the same, but they're real stiff. and
You know, also an ice type refrigerator that you put the ice in down below with marble and brass. We think it was probably used to keep medicines in an old doctor's office. Double wall glass.
they put the ice in here, and and then that cooled. That's a deal to cut the cheese. You'd get a round of cheese, and then you'd take and cut how much people wanted to buy.
Paul Bunyan sawmill was restored by Dad. It was originally taken around to carnivals in probably, what, the 40s?
40s and 50s.
Yeah, a guy had it in the back of a van truck and would take it around to carnivals and charge admission. Of course, when Dad got it, the table was bad, but actually every man on this table moves. They go through the process of rolling the logs up and sawing the logs off, catching the boards. If you'll notice, all the men's heads are all hand-carved wood. And then they have a little framework underneath them, but underneath is quite a maze of gears and pulleys, but it all still works, and you can actually still build a fire in the firebox of the tractor and have smoke coming out, so it looks like it's working. But Babe the ox, his head goes up and down. Paul Bunyan's head turns and swings his axe, and the men saw down the trees and climb up the trees. So it's quite a contraption when it runs.
It was on a friend of his had it. This man would leave his truck sitting at Dad's friend's place, and we never knew what was in it for a long time. And then after that man passed away, this friend of Dad's, he was in the Milford Dam area, and he had to move, and so then that's when Dad acquired the sawmill deal, and then he transferred it from what it was onto this sheet of plywood. Here's what he started, the original wheels. That's what he had to start with. And then he painted them, and then he built the box on it. And then they come up with the decals from pictures, and off of some of the old lumber that was on it, they made copies of it. And so he was quite proud of that he had his old wagon back again. It's one that he had when he was a young man. And
still has many years.
yeah, and but he'd shucked a lot of corn with that. You know, had the bang boards on the side, and shucked corn with it, and with his horses, and because he farmed with horses for a while before they got into the tractors. And back when he was a kid, he'd done a lot of horse farming. He was the youngest of 11 kids, and so him and his sisters, younger sisters, done a lot of the farm work too.
He really, I mean, he worked on antiques. I mean, that's what he did. That was his hobby every evening, and he spent a lot of time in the shop. He'd always have a project out there that he was working on for years, long before retirement. I mean, he did that all of his life, really. But he could restore just about anything. He could make parts out of wood or metal. He was very talented at making any part that he didn't have.
With the lathe.
Had a metal lathe and a wood lathe, and could make just about anything.
To see more videos of the Sylvester auction, including video walkthroughs, visit aumannauctions.com.